Going to go a day trip to a couple of Scottish castles today, so why don't we talk about van life, the reality? Is it everything it's cracked up to be? Before I start, I just want to say that none of what I say is meant as a criticism. I think the van life community is a great thing. I think it's a great movement. It's amazing to have such a large group of people that have such similar interests. But like with anything, I think to look at it as a whole, you've got to be objective. And with that in mind, I think comes the most important thing, and that's that you've got to balance your expectations with reality, because when you look at Instagram, you scroll through hundreds of thousands of posts of van life and everybody just looks so happy and it just seems like the perfect life. Now, you know that I love van life. I've been able to travel to so many amazing places, met a lot of great people. However, you've got to remember that these images are just a snapshot. They're photos that are taken in that moment in time to look good, and a lot of times are staged, so it doesn't give an accurate representation of what it's like. I mean, behind every snapshot there's probably countless hours of being stressed, having issues with the van, worrying where you're going to sleep for the night, and emptying toilets. So I think you've just got to remember that it's important, because if you go in thinking it's just going to be perfect all the time, you're just going to be disappointed. Also, I've used a tree here to kind of make a tripod, which I think works quite well. How amazing would it be if you could live in a van and travel to all these different places, and because of the fact that you live in a van, life is just so much cheaper and more affordable? Wrong. It'll be amazing if it was like that, but sadly it's not. Van life is expensive, and ridiculously expensive sometimes. Building a van itself is really expensive. It can be as basic or as luxurious as you like, but generally speaking, building a van is expensive. On top of that, you've got living expenses, you've got food, you've got the cost of travelling to do things, because who wants to just sit in a van? You've got fuel, and you've also got the cost of unexpected things happening, which I guarantee you, if you live in a van, will happen. And if you've been following my channel, you know this is the case. I've had the engine blowing up, I've had problems with the brake, problem with the waste tank, you name it. You live in a van, you are going to have problems. In fact, easily in the past year have spent more than what we would have spent if we were still living in the flat for a year. But on the flip side, we've had the best year of our life, so it's worth it. And I know that I absolutely wouldn't have been able to afford van life whether 20 or 21. It's only after working for the best part of 10 years that I could actually afford it. It can be stressful and it can be tough sometimes, particularly in winter when it gets dark so quickly, it's freezing and you're in a very small space. And when travelling for a long period of time, it can get to the point where it feels a little bit routine, where you go in peaks and troughs where you're maybe not enjoying it as much, and you may even feel like a little bit bored, which I know is a tough problem to have and probably sound a bit spoiled saying that, but for that reason I think it's very good to have an outlet, whether it's something creative like photography I like doing, or whether it's painting or drawing, whether it's a hobby, or it can be something like learning another language. I think it's good because it gives you an outlet, it gives you something to focus on where you're never bored, because you're always applying yourself to that rather than just going through the motions. Off the next location, which is Clane Castle. Excited to go there, I've not been in so long. There's an amazing cliff walk and beach. be honest, I think it's about finding that balance of what works best for you, because everybody's different and it will depend whether you want to live in a van full-time, part-time, how much you want to travel. But I think it's really just about finding that lifestyle that makes you happy. And that's something I'm trying to do myself, to be honest, find that balance between van life and earning a living with my photography and video. Speaking of which, my website is finally up, which I'm happy about, so I'll include that link below. Have a little look if you want. And some of you will know that I was doing my drone course. Thankfully I passed that, and I'm just waiting on getting the operations manual approved before I get my final permission. I should also have the print store on my website very soon. So just do what makes you happy in life. Until next time, I'll see you later.